Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the last session of Festival Media Latam 2018. And it's always a pleasure when you do this job and you look out at the last session and you see a full house. So you give yourself a round of applause just for that. Okay, well, it's good, it feels good. And I'm glad you've stayed with us. The sun can often be our enemy, but obviously got enough at lunchtime, which is wonderful. So, okay, we come to the last session. As promised in these zones, we wanted to dive deeply into a whole bunch of topics, a bunch of insights, and a bunch of trends. And interestingly, all of the conversations this afternoon have had a lovely flow to them. And I think the last one certainly sets us up beautifully for this end conversation. So, taking the tech conversation, taking that brand conversation and putting it together and saying, actually, how are tech companies working with media owners in this new world and this new media landscape? Well, to take us that way, we have a fantastic panel. But first of all, let me introduce you to our moderator, who will introduce the panel. It is Juan Vallejo, EVP Commercial Partnerships, Fox.
Thank you, sir. Hello, everybody. Glad to be here. We have a great crowd. We need a larger boat. This is it's awesome. We're here to talk about the new relationship. It's basically how tech companies and media owners are forging new partnerships for the benefit of brands and, of course, benefit of the consumer. Again, like I said, my name is Juan Vallejo. I'm the head of commercial partnerships for Fox Media in Latin America. Very excited to be here. And before we start, I want to thank you, the organizers for Festival of Media, as well as the partners that have been with us for many, many years. As you know, the media industry is in its fourth great revolution. First, 1920s, film. Then came broadcast television in the 50s. And of course, pay TV came to stay in the 1980s. But of course, that was completely changed by the digital revolution that came in the 1990s and 2000. The truth of the matter is, if you think about the media landscape 13 years ago, it was a little bit segmented. Everybody used to play in their own sandbox. Consultancies and brands, agencies and media owners, and of course, technology companies. But as I said in our panel yesterday, with the proliferation of new platforms and new technologies, what we're seeing is a much more fragmented and of course, complex consumer. Now, what happens today is that the ecosystem is a little bit blurrier. And what I mean by that is the fact that everyone's starting to play in their own sandbox, okay? Consultancies and brands, technology companies, media owners. So, as we like to say at Fox, the industry is under a seismic redefinition. And there's no coincidence right now to the fact that there's a lot of media consolidation. Think about it, Scripps Discovery, AT&T Time Warner, and of course, Disney and Fox. And so in this new world order, how we see it is that, you know, we've all experienced some growing pains, from transparency to brand safety, from data to technology. Those all, you know, tricks of the trade. And so for us, evolution is a must. At Fox, we think about an analogy. It's basically the combination of Mad Men and Math Men. When you look about Mad Men, you talk about storytelling and quality content, and you talk about amazing creative formats and excellence. When you talk about Math Men, you talk about science, right? You talk about data and technology, business amplification, and of course, everything that combines. But that merger actually creates a third pillar, which is trust and transparency and deeper partnerships and of course, in client centricity. So with that said, our medium has to have a rebirth into the context of technology. At Fox, we actually don't think about just television as a whole. We like to think ourselves as a company that's in the video technology space. And that's what basically we're pushing it through. And with that is we need to start looking at bigger partnership. And I love this word, bigger partnership with frenemies, friends and enemies. So, you know, as Jill Mel say, your competition is not your competitors. Your competition is the future. So to start this panel, the new relationship, these are not the Simpsons. This is our great partner, Rafa Lopez de Asua. He's the head of digital and, of course, media for Coty in Latin America. Juanjo Duran is the head of content partnerships for Spanish-speaking Latam and U.S. Hispanic. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Okay, for YouTube. And of course, Carlos Chavez, who heads Fox Lab and Fox Amplified Network for Fox. So, folks, thank you so much for being here today. I would like to start asking the question about audiences. And, you know, with so much noise, so much fragmentations, our audience is shrinking. And this question is for Rafa and Juanjo.
So I don't think that the audiences are shrinking. They're just dispersing amongst and atomizing in all the different places. There's a lot of content. People are still watching TV, but they're watching TV and they're on their mobile phones and they're on social media and they're on basically a website or something else. And it's just the same people are there, and actually we have growing populations in all the countries. So it's just a matter of where their attention is at that second in time.
Totally agree. I think audiences are not shrinking. What is happening is audiences are hyper-focusing on the things that they really are passionate about. And now that they are doing that, they are watching more content and with more intensity. So different to how they were behaving in the past, what is going on right now is that they connect with things that they feel related, they feel so passionate about, and that's an amazing opportunity for brands for creating new audiences itself. And I think it's an amazing time for everybody in the industry.
Absolutely. So I want to hear the point of view from Rafa. So in this new ecosystem, what are you looking for in a traditional media, partnership, and also from a tech partner for your brand specifically?
Yeah. On the traditional side, it's what we've always looked for, right? There's quality, there's great content, and of course, we have to factor in reach, because if we have great content and nobody gets to see it, then it's not great. On the digital side, it is again that reach, but it's also the targeting capabilities that are in digital, and really all the data that you can get from those audiences. We can learn a lot more from the consumer on their media practices that we couldn't before without having to pay for a lot of research.
From what I hear is like the best of both worlds will be
Yeah,
the
yeah,
ideal,
that would be
correct?
great.
Okay, perfect. So I want to hear about this new frenemy relationship. Juanjo, Chavez, you're sitting together. Not usual that you sit together.
We're not fighting.
Right. So I want to hear from you. Do you guys compete? Do you guys complement each other?
Oh no, you please, you first.
Not to put you in your spot, right?
I think it has to be very clear for everybody that what we do, we're primarily a technology company, and YouTube is a distribution company. So we don't create content. We really partner with the people that knows how to create that, and people that really knows how to engage to what I was saying previously, those passions. And I think the perfect example is what we do with Fox. We partner and we try to maximize that reach, get the correct engagement for brands, but also make sure that we are engaging with the way these new audiences are behaving, how they are consuming. As we were saying previously, these audiences are not fragmented. They are just consuming in a different way. And if our partners are not adapting to this new way of consuming those content, it's going to be really tough to continue to do what they do best. Isn't it?
You said it perfect, but I will want to compliment that. It is.
I want to hear your posture. I think that's the whole audience.
No, it's definitely a compliment. Like you said, you're a platform where today people are consuming the content. We can ignore that our fans are now watching Fox Sports Copa Libertadores on YouTube. That Nat Geo, they want to see it on their YouTube, on their phone, or on their connected TV. We can't ignore that fact. So we want to make sure that our content reaches where they want to consume that content. And because of everything that Rafa mentioned, can we have reach? Can we measure them properly? Can we provide them the right commercial tools so our brands can live amongst that experience that we have with our fans? Well, then that allows Fox to really come in and commit to a platform like YouTube, because we can reach the audience we want, but we can make sure our commercial partners can come with us in that experience.
So on that note, Juanjo, I want to understand a little bit about the benefits that you bring for both media, traditional media companies, as well as brands. Tools, monetization, platform, et cetera.
Well, what we do is, first of all, we make sure we don't manage that content that we are talking about. We make sure that they know how to manage it, because ultimately you are, the content owners are the ones that know how to manage and really to engage in the best way to that audience. So that's the first layer. Secondly, we began to really on top areas where we can monetize that content. The first layer is maybe people that are uploading that content and make sure that the rightful owner, in this case Fox, is claiming that content. So that's like the very, very basic. Then we add another layer where we make sure that if there's an opportunity where we have a great partner that can really monetize that content in even a better way that we can do, very targeted, because at the end of the day, if we let you guys monetize, in this case, a traditional media company, what they do is they go and sell specific shows, for example. On Google, we don't go and sell that specifically. We sell an audience. So that's a difference. So we give the ability to partners to monetize that content. And there's where it really becomes very interesting, because what you can do is you can add all the layers of O&O and all the things that you have on your side to the amazing audience that you have on YouTube, and then begin to mix it with things that may not be existing currently on your traditional media. So for example, what we do, we have the case of Sebastián Villalobos, a great creator, one of the biggest ones in the region, and he does content for one of the most sensitive audiences, that is kids. And he does it in a partnership with Nat Geo. But Nat Geo decides to really give away that content and premiere it first on YouTube and then on the different platforms. So you begin to understand how you can create new content.
Just a quick thing on that, and it's specifically touching on the point of Sebastián Villalobos. That's another great shift. We're now looking at talent that we know that we want to create a new show, a digital first show. In this case, Nat Geo decided that this show is going to go first on YouTube. We get to choose an influencer that already has a built-in base, that knows how to create content for that platform, that knows how to engage with that audience, and that brings that right away the second we launch the program. That's very important and very unique. So not only are we talking with YouTube to leverage the platform, we're also leveraging the creators that are on it, that are going to know how to come to Fox and associate themselves to the Fox brand to create the best possible content out there.
So, Carlos, talk a little bit more about other frenemy relationships that you see out there. I mean, we have Juan today from YouTube, but talk about the other relationships as well.
I mean, the bottom line is us as Fox, we are embracing that we need to go to the fan. We can't make fans have to come to us. That world has changed. We need to go where they consume the content. So whether it is on YouTube, which we obviously have a great relationship to not only be able to put the content, but to bring it part of our commercial ecosystem. We have Twitter. So Marco was speaking earlier. With Twitter Amplify, we're committing this premium content that we're putting out there. But why? Because we want to make sure if you want to consume your content on Twitter, we'll give it to you on Twitter. If you want to consume it on YouTube, it'll be there on YouTube. Now, if you're traditional and want to watch it on TV at 9 p.m. with your family, that'll be there too. But it doesn't matter where you consume your content. Fox's commitment to that audience to make sure they get it where they want to consume it. Beautiful. So in addition to that, we're speaking with Facebook. We're speaking to sports publishers in the region. That's an important thing. Where do people read their news and like to check their stories? Well, Fox wants to go to them and talk to them to make sure their content, their website has our content.
Beautiful. So we spoke about the media owners as well as tech companies and distribution platforms. Rafa, I want to hear your point of view about how these new alliances ultimately benefit your brands.
Yeah, I think it just creates more opportunities, right? So in the old days, it was this show brought to you by blah. Or if you go into even further, there's product placement. In this case, there's even more opportunities for brands to really to touch that consumer on every platform that they're consuming that content. Because as Juan was saying, it's all about that passion. If we want to associate our brands with a certain passion point, whether it's, let's say somebody has a passion for or is a super big fan of Walking Dead, and we sponsor it with one of our brands that is really close to that target, we can then not only engage them on that show on TV and when that show is on, but also when they're engaging with Walking Dead on social media or on the YouTube channels when there's additional content or specific content for another platform. And it just commercially, it's a bigger idea than just, hey, we're going to put a starting and a closing billboard on the show, or product placement.
Beautiful. Are there any specific examples that you've done with your brands regarding this new ecosystem?
Not with you guys. No, I take that back. We have done one with you guys. But we did one with Hugo Boss and the World Cup with Fox Sports, where not only did we get the talent that wasn't actually allowed to be on the TV copy, but we got him to kind of film a spot. And then it wasn't just on TV. We also engaged on the foxsports.com, which is where we know where a lot of the fans of the World Cup are going to go and look up more information on whatever game or team or whatever's happening at that moment in Russia. This is last year. We've done it with another show, and it was a similar thing where we had a TV activation, and it was based on the really great content. And there was a digital component where we activated online in Facebook. There's other examples. If you think about the great things that some brands in the U.S. are doing with some of the late night comedians, where these late night comedians they will have a sponsorship. They maybe mention it on the show once, but they also then do a lot of really exclusive content on YouTube, on Snapchat, on Twitter, whatever it is, and they just that tie-in with between the brand, the content, and the platforms is a lot more seamless than it used to be.
I think just to add to that, on the platform, the beauty is that some of the most watched videos on a yearly basis comes from brands. So last year, a couple of years ago, Diego Luna created an ad for food in Mexico, a ham brand there, and it was one of the most watched for Dia de las Madres. In the US, brands are creating content specifically. Pringles did an amazing job where they wanted to target this audience and they were thinking about the platform, but they realized there were people creating combination of Pringles, stacking them into each other. So there were like 38,000 possible combinations with Pringles flavors. So they interacted with that audience and at the same time with content owners to really brand and position the brand with that audience.
Thank you so much, Juanjo. Carlos, any other examples from your standpoint that you think of best practices or executions?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, when you embrace these platforms, you can play with different options that you have. So with YouTube, if we commit the highlights of the properties that we have on YouTube, when people search on Google for that property, it'll show up on Google's one box. That's a game changer because it makes our content is way more visible. Whatever brand is associated to that content will be there. And more important for the fan, they easily get access to the content, which I think is the name of the game. With Twitter, the same thing. We want to make sure that if we're speaking about being in the live conversation, when things happen and when people are talking about it, if there's a trending topic, we need to make sure that Fox is there. And the last one, which is the one that you mentioned, Juanjo, about Sebastián Villalobos. Nat Geo wants to launch a show that is for kids, and what best than to grab a digital influencer? What is the natural place to launch a show for kids? In the platform where most kids watch their content every day. Some kids today won't even know how to turn on a TV. So where is the natural place to do it? Do it with YouTube. That's the partnership that makes sense. And do it with an influencer that already knows how to do content there.
Now talk about curation, in transmedia storytelling. Is all content made alike? Did you have to put it in TV and then digital? What's the best practice for that? Juanjo, maybe you can provide a couple of examples, or Carlos.
I think we put a lot of attention of that, and that part of the first layer of the partnership that I explained in the beginning. So what we help our partners understanding how that content is behaving on the platform. And for that, we offer different analytics tools, and in this case, YouTube editing and really deep diving tools where you can see, for instance, there was a spike in viewers in minute number 2, and something happened there. So you can go there and re-edit that content and go ahead and possibly talk to producers and make sure that you're tapping into that kind of things that are happening. So that's something that we offer to our partners, but also on the individual basis. They learn how to behave on the platform and they get certified, and then individual contributors to the partners, they they have that for their lives on their resumes. And a company that has more than 3 or 4, I can remember, can call like YouTube certified. In this case, you guys are certified. So it's really helping them understand what is happening. On top of that, you can see the results in live. So what's going on? If you're uploading that match within the first 30 seconds, 1 minute, that's what you guys do in terms of soccer, you can see like how it's behaving. Where is that content consumption is coming from? Is it coming from this territory in LATAM? Is it mainly males? What is going on? And you can take decisions based on that.
I think definitely not all content is made equal, and every platform definitely has its unique tools to engage with fans differently. Nothing kills me more than when I see an awesome idea and there's a one slide saying, oh, and it's amplified like that on digital. Like, it doesn't say anything. I mean, Twitter has its own unique tactics. YouTube has its own tactics. Instagram has its own tactics. So the beauty, we have creators. Fox Lab has studios around the entire region, over 50 people working and creating content. When we approach an idea, we try to figure out where is that idea naturally part of. So should this naturally live on YouTube? Like in the case of Nat Geo Lab. Should it start there? Well, we'll build the idea around that, and we try to figure out how every other platform can support and add engagement to that unique idea. But yes, absolutely, every platform has its own tools. We're sending all our creatives to school. So they're all going through Google certifications. We're now have to talk to Marco about Twitter Flight School.
He's back there.
Where are you, Marco? I'm seeing you right there, brother. We need to make sure we master. You have to embrace these platforms, master them, and if you truly believe that your job, in case of Fox, Nat Geo, and Fox Sports, we're storytellers and content creators, we have to learn how to create content for those platforms. So absolutely, part of the partnership is them opening the door to us to really become better creators of content for their platforms.
So talk a little bit about what is Fox doing particularly in this new ecosystem to evolve?
I mean, absolutely.
Besides content creation and
everything,
platform curation.
I mean, one, you're embracing the platform. Two, how do we then, from a content standpoint, we're committed to it. We're saying, you know what, we're all in. These social media websites are not just marketing tools. No, they're platforms to show and to promote our content to reach new audiences. Now, the trick is, how do we make sure that we can bring in our brands within this ecosystem? So luckily, with YouTube, and because YouTube is part of Google and all our O&Os has a Google Ad Manager, we can look at a single campaign and make sure it runs seamlessly across our own owned and operated websites and Google. With Twitter offers awesome opportunity through Twitter Amplify to make sure that the content that we have can reach the audience that our brands want to do. So the reality is what Fox is doing is embracing every single opportunity there is out there, mastering it and committing it to it for our audience and for our brands.
So if I'm Rafa, do I still have to go to a lot of people from different companies to purchase this transmedia storytelling?
I mean, if Rafa is looking specifically on content on Fox, we can now offer them that content across the different platforms, including YouTube, thanks to the partnership that we have.
Beautiful.
And then if Rafa is looking for content outside of Fox, we can go together.
No, it's true.
Frenemies.
But it's because it's
They're all my friends. They're all my friends.
My enemy's enemy's my friend. That's what I said, yeah. So, anything else you would like to add?
Well, I just need to really reemphasize, because it sounds very, very silly, all what you guys are saying right now, but really Fox is a lighthouse in the market right now, in the region. There's a momentum going on in the market, and there's a difference between what's going on in Latin America and the US Hispanic, and I think Fox is really paving the way to a lot of content media owners to really tell that story, what they need to do, and I think it's difficult. It's an internal talk that you need to have in your own company in order to understand, and Fox is doing that, and it's just because of that trust and leaning in on the platform, and I think it just complements and go back to the trust of the brands and how we can do all of this together. At the end of the day, I think is how we do this a better ecosystem, and that's happening. For me, it's an amazing moment what we are living right now in the market.
Anything else, Rafa? Chavez? You guys are good?
Thank you for being my frenemy, man.
I think we have a minute for a question, but please, you know, guys did a phenomenal job. Of like, yeah. We got a question. No?
An awesome closing session. When you were talking a lot about frenemies, it kind of made me think of, in Portugal, they have this project called Project Nonio, where the 6 largest media owners have decided to put their differences away and pull all their data together to fight against Google and Facebook. I know obviously that's just in a small country, but do you think that kind of an alliance should be replicated on a wider scale? Is that possible? Should we do it?
Who's that question for? Yeah,
Go ahead.
I mean, from the brand side, I don't think it makes sense, right? Facebook and Google aren't in the content creation game per se. They're platforms. They want people, whether it's some 15-year-old person that wants to be a famous YouTuber, or a very, very famous actor, or used to be a network, TV network, now what did you call it? The video technology companies, to just create the content for them, right? And so I don't think it's, from my side, it's not helpful if nobody is playing with the other people, because as a brand, I have to, like I said before, and I was half joking, everybody's my friend. I have to advertise on TV, on digital, on social media, everywhere, on print, just because that's where the eyeballs are. So for me, it doesn't make sense.
And I think just to add, something similar just happened in Argentina, and it proved it wasn't the best example for the market, for the audience, and for the people. At the end of the day, we do not block our partners to work with us and have partner sales, for example, if they don't have our ad server. We don't block them to go and upload the content only to YouTube. We even help them understand how to maximize that content on other third-party platforms. So I think it doesn't help anybody at the end of the day.
I mean, I think they're failing to embrace the opportunity of actually working with these platforms. And to say specifically, us in Latin America, we are, as Fox, looking at all the top sports publishers in the region. And we're saying, hey, you can take our content, as long as it's under these right brand-safe commercial terms, we can work together. The challenge is to find a common goal, but to make sure that you're super serving the audience.
Beautiful. I think that's it. Thank you so much. Let's give it up for the...
Wonderful. Thank you very much. What a great panel to end Festival of Media Latam with. Thank you very much, gentlemen.